When chapter 97 dropped, which seems like forever ago, chills ran down my body. Ichikawa has done it yet again with chapter 101 as a return with back-to-back chapters in 2023. Who would have thought? I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and as someone who has reread the series 10 times over, I'm here to provide some answers as the resident gemologist in the land of the lustrous. Eyes are very special in this series and something that Ichikawa has been using since the very beginning, but we only really got context for it with chapter 94. Hell, it's the only reason I even started making these chapter reviews in the first place, reflecting on the past, which is exactly what we are back here once again 3 years later, just as Phos seems to be confronted with at the end of chapter 101. This eye seems super familiar. I mean, if we had color, we would probably know exactly whose eye this is. But that's the beauty of the black and white nature of manga, as this eye isn't so black and white after all. There are two main camps that people seem to fall under after this chapter, that it's either Lapis's eye or Kongo's brother's eye, and you know where I fall under. Phos's eyes are very inconsistent in terms of shape and structure for the majority of the series. Sometimes they have shaded irises, sometimes they have dotted pupils, and lighting can't really account for this shift every time, and even within a single chapter, the eyes change drastically, let alone across chapters from different points of the series. On top of that, Phos lost their head and takes in two other eyes, which adds to even more variability. And this isn't a gripe, just the reality of it. But there was one time that I could find where we got a hint of a dilated pupil that added some extra dimensionality parallel to the one that was present in chapter 101 with chapter 56, when Phos brings up the idea of betraying Kongo, which subsequently leads to Phos losing their left eye in favor of a synthetic pearl. What's really interesting here is Enma knew Phos would come up with this plan on their own and had that pearl on the ready, shaping it right in front of Phos. But by showing the synthetic human earlier in the chapter, Enma knew it would elicit a human reaction. And Enma continued to further send Phos down this path by suggesting that Kongo still had their right eye, even though it might not have. Keep in mind that Enma could have just gave Phos's left eye back that they took earlier, but since Phos probably doesn't remember this fact, Enma can push them in a direction that they want. Even though we see Enma put their hand back in the sleeve when looking at the ice flows, that doesn't mean that the eye is there too. Enma has had a repeated pattern of lying when others aren't privy to seeing the situation unfold, as explained in the Euclid video, where Enma states that all the gems attacked Phos when there's enough of a reason for the reader to think that Euclid and Jade did not throw their spears, but the lunar gems weren't on Earth, so the truth is obscured in Enma's favor. On top of this, Kongo looks up and seems to ask Enma how much longer it will take. What if Kongo decided to drop the eye into the sea and give the ice flows something so that they could have more of a trading ground with the Lunarians? But little to Kongo's knowledge, Enma was not interested in even engaging in a conversation as stated in chapter 89. Although Phos forgot their overall motivation or desires to go back to Earth, which was to get Kongo to pray, the fact that Kongo seemed to have a property of Phos was the final piece that spurred them into an invasion of Earth. Now tens of thousands of years later, this same eye might have appeared just as Phos comes to the realization that their prayer was a prayer for none. I had the theory with chapter 97 that Kongo's brother was not a brother after all, but more so 1.0 to Kongo's 2.0, with the wording of the chapter and the framing of how Kongo says their appearance has changed since waking up in this new form, and the potato chips tying chapter 97 to 89 and the floor by Kongo's chair look like the remains of the box's outsides. But one thing that I hadn't noticed back then was the eye part that never remained and seems to have ended up in the ocean after the final meteorite strike. If Kongo's right eye is supposed to strive for happiness to the holder, what if this was the left eye of 1.0, which is what has returned in this chapter? Yaku translated a portion of the lore book that came with volume 11, and although the timeline of that book is kind of weird, as I think it's other aliens observing Earth and have seemed to have observed the box, so it might still be alive. I guess we'll have to wait until 102, or maybe, never, to get more confirmation one way or another. The sheets that Phos becomes in this chapter itself reminded me of the sheet for Synthetic Doctor, which also appears in the extended cover of volume 7, which has the beloved Lapis. Both of these possibilities are so intertwined, so let me know in the comments down below which camp you fall under, Lapis or Kongo's brother. That's the eye at the end of the chapter. As for the rest of the chapter, actually crazy crazy that Phos's prayer was really broken, but in a completely different way from Congo. Instead of sending these pieces of humanity to nothingness, whatever that is, since Phos is nothingness, as they stated earlier, they got incorporated inside of them. But Phos doesn't have eyes and can't really see their face changing so much, so I guess they never even noticed. And that means that every time that there was a lot of activity going on, it's usually because Phos is flustered or frustrated or conflicted, and that's when these pieces of humanity are ripping each other apart. The melancholic nature that I described when reading chapter 100 is justified in hindsight because Phos didn't even register this. Although the gem to Lunarian conversion was so systematic in chapter 95, where each former gem was placed neatly inside of a box post-revival, the Lunarian to nothingness conversion is more reminiscent to the Kurama region of that constant nightmare. Just like the higher-ups, they turn their eyes away to the inhumane nature that is in humanity, of the endless killing of those that can't die, just like Phos couldn't kill themselves in the same manner. Even to this day, what seems like a figment of Phos within Phos's face attempts to get destroyed by the humanity inside of them. The connection of these rocks as extensions of the three races also seems a little more valid, and unless the eye is stating that it smells the humanity in Phos alone. But if these rocks are vestiges themselves, maybe it's okay to kill them off. Even though I do love Pebble, I do love Twirly, and I do love the flat rock. Phos might even have to finish the job this time and kill themselves off. This is a test of Phos's happiness and resolve of contentness, as Congo said to them in winter, Phos must maintain a peace of mind when going up against the ice flows. Can they? And even if they can't, we will be along for the ride. This channel is trying to get to 10,000 sufferers strong so that we can share the burden of Phos's pain through the end of the series. So if you aren't subscribed yet and enjoyed what you watched, please consider it. There should be a live stream for 101 at some point. Please check the live tab on the channel. I'll see you guys in 102. Peace.